Hi, I'm Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
All right, in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, here we are.
Oh my goodness, what is that?
I don't know. Richie's overproducing again.
Are we still on the?
Yeah, I don't know.
In the charts down with
I-
our friends in Mexico.
Yeah, I think we've dropped in the charts in Mexico. That it.
I didn't know the snake episode.
So I heard a rumor that we got mentioned on a daytime soap opera.
Really?
Yeah, that one of the people were listening to our podcast. So maybe that's how it got going.
Okay.
Huh.
And I don't know if you've ever watched a Spanish soap opera, but they're
I did when I was trying to learn Spanish in high school.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Shannon's grandmother is Spanish, so we're friends on Facebook, and it serves me just countless Spanish recipes, and it's in Spanish, and I love it because like with the words they're using for the ingredients, I'm like, oh, I know what that is. But anyway.
Yeah. I love Mexican food.
I think we're having some. Sam is whooping up some carne, some kind of something in there now. Well, is that tomorrow, Dud?
No, I think that's today.
All right, I know
But
he's
it's
got
some kind of bison.
He's got some bison. He's going to make some kind of chili, carne chili tomorrow. Carne. He said something with carne.
Carne asada.
Yeah, that's good.
That sounds delicious, actually. So
Have a
yeah.
good taste.
So looking around the room, we got Dudley here. You look all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
You getting rest, Dudley?
feel it.
You just look better these days.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, Lanny's sitting here. You got a devious grin on your face.
Always up to something.
We've got I'll get to our guests here in just a second, but we've got a really interesting show today. We're going to talk about. I don't know what that noise is. Is that you, Richie, over there? Okay, all right. So our guest,
Lifeline. That's right. Oh, Mike in the house.
So look, it's. I wanted to kind of give a shout out. It is Breast Awareness Month.
Oh yes, it is. You
So-
wearing pink today?
So, well, I'm not, but I wanted to encourage our guys. If you go home and your significant other, you could remind them, hey, you ought to go get checked, and they would know that you love them. And so I just want to remind everybody to kind of get some brownie points now that hunting season's here.
Well, that's a great public service announcement.
It is. And it reminds me of the time that you self-diagnosed yourself and thought you had breast cancer.
Well,
Oh me.
are we going to hear a story out of that?
Well, I mean,
Because,
that's just what happened. He came in one day and he'd been on the internet and he was convinced he had breast cancer.
If you have any kind of symptoms, do not go and look on Google. That's all I got to say.
all I
Yeah.
want.
Oh no, I came to work. You know I got to talk about it.
Yeah. And the drought is still going on.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, they're saying the Mississippi River is drier than it's ever been.
Yeah. Didn't you say you caught a brim the other day with ticks on it?
No, I did not say that.
Yeah, a lot of us got it around here, but south of here got missed, so they're in much worse shape.
Yeah. Shannon sent me a picture of the Mississippi River yesterday, and it looks like the butt of hatch.
Well, it's a tough time for a food plot right now in the deep south. And our friends in Missouri are struggling as well. So it's not just here.
Right.
We sure need a rain.
Well, we're just going to have to practice hunting natural food sources this year.
Well,
if,
and look,
if the food plots don't.
what would y'all recommend y'all to? I mean, like, what is if you got to plant something late here in the South?
Cereal grains.
Cereal grains.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a blend that's heavy in cereal grains.
Mm-hmm. So
Because you can still get some clover going for the spring.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do is wheat and clover mixes right now, and then hopefully to get the clover to establish in the spring. So.
Yep.
Wheat.
Yeah, that's it. So, look, this week the episode is going to be brought to you by our friends at Gamekeepers Fieldwear.
All right.
And I wanted to pass along, they sent me a note. There's a promo code. You get 20% off.
Come on.
Yeah, and we love all that stuff that they have. It's
yeah.
fantastic clothing. But if you'll go to GamekeepersFieldwear.com, you can see it all. And if you'll use GK Fall 22 in all caps, you'll get a 20%.
GK Fall 22, all caps.
In all caps, yep. Then you get a 20% discount.
Boom.
How about
Can
that?
can we use that?
You can.
Okay.
Yours are probably on. Yeah.
Yeah, would expect that you would. So moving right along, today we're going to talk about suppressors, and how ironic is it that our boss isn't here on a day that we're going to talk about suppressors? But he's got one.
He does. He loves it.
He has one in his closet. Or
Lest
safe.
anybody think I was trying to make a joke about suppressing him, but
Well, he's in full blown food plot mode. So I think he lost some clover because of the drought. So they're steady working on trying to get that reestablished in anticipation of the rain.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
goes well.
So we're going to talk about suppressors and how a gamekeeper could use them to help manage his property, how a hunter can use them in the various different ways. Squirrel hunters love them.
Yeah. We talk about it all the time with wildlife managers: food, water, cover, and pressure. And this is a direct conversation about that pressure. Not only going in, going out, but noise pollution is a big thing too. So
yeah, that's right. So let me kind of go around the room and introduce everybody. On the couch over here between the turkeys,
the one and only
is Mike Pearson.
Yeah,
and he's kind of a legendary gun guy in the area. Works at a super popular
one of the biggest
store
gun
called
stores
Gary's.
in the South. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gary's
it's
Pawn and
huge store. Sells more guns than anybody.
Our neighbor,
And right across the street.
Super convenient.
Yeah, so we're glad to have you here.
Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Didn't have to travel far.
I remember when I moved up here, I was just blown away with the selection at Gary's, and some of these bigger cities and bigger box stores, you go in and the shelves would be just empty.
Not over there, buddy.
Man, you could go into Gary's and get just about any model firearm you wanted, and
it's a destination. I mean, folks drive up and down highway, and you've got to walk through Gary's to see. I think my dad comes in there once a week just to look.
And then when y'all have those sales,
Yeah.
like the Ruger sale,
Yep.
the Smith sale,
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
amazing.
Dito family, big part of West Point. Gary was a big part of what we did around here. So shout out to him too.
Sure
Gino, all the
was.
guys.
Yeah, so moving right along, we've got two guests from Nosler.
big
They're
time.
great friends of ours. I'm going to introduce. There's Tim O'Connor, which he's the new product development guy.
All right.
So, Tim, are you there?
Guys.
Yeah, okay. We got Tim there. And then one of our favorite guests. We've had him on
Every
here a
time.
couple of times, Mr. Pat Mundy. And he is the vice president of sales and marketing for Nosler.
The legendary Nosler, I would say.
Absolutely.
They
No doubt
make
about
such great ammunition.
They're an iconic outdoor brand.
They really are.
They are, just period.
And now they've gotten into making these suppressors. So, Pat, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate being back, you guys. It's always fun.
Well, these yahoos around here are wanting to strap lawnmower mufflers on the end of their rifles, and
oil cans, oil filters.
I've seen Lanny put a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi on the end of his. So I wanted you to help us understand, what do we need to be doing? Why do we need these? What's going on? Can you tell us what's going on within the suppressor world?
Yeah, it's suppressors are obviously becoming more and more popular all the time, especially for hunters. There's a lot of choices out there. There's a lot of myths about suppressors. There's also a lot of benefits of using them. I really wanted Tim to be on the call today. Tim he's been using suppressors since years, probably, a couple decades of suppressor use knowledge. It's just, I think it's always good to kind of explain to people what they can bring to the table. You guys touched on noise pollution. I think that's a huge deal, especially when you're trying to manage your property well. And, I think, Tim can get into the details, but it's a growing concern and it's important.
Yeah, Tim, where would you think it'd make the most sense to, as we kind of move through explaining this as a hunting tool, as something to help manage your property, manage noise pollution, even if a guy's wanting to hunt squirrels? I think I know quite a few squirrel hunters that love them.
Oh, we got a rabid squirrel hunter that loves them here.
Yeah, and I think hearing protection. Of course, none of us wear hearing protection out in the field, and that's not a good idea. What we're probably all hearing the ringing right now from tinnitus. But putting a suppressor on the end of the rifle helps with hearing protection, and obviously the noise pollution here in the United States are becoming much more popular. Over in the European countries, they've been a mainstay of hunting for a long time, and I think that's that mindset is becoming more prevalent over here, and I'm glad to see it, because not only are they not very expensive comparably, but they're also not hard to get. It does take a little bit of a wait, and we always hate to wait for things. But if you get on it early, you can have your suppressor by, hunting season right now. I think the waiting time is, 5 or 6 months, not too long. And the $200 tax stamp, as the economy goes where it's going, the $200 tax stamp actually becomes less of an issue for purchase of a suppressor. So all of that, I think, adds up to a good reason to go out and look at a suppressor for your hunting rifle.
So, Lanny, you look like you got a question.
Yeah, I was just, going back to the fundamentals of how they work. Mike, it might be a great. They have baffles in them. What does it do to the gas in the chamber? How do suppressors work?
The guys at Nosler, probably if they're building, have a little better terminology. But originally, when I first started seeing them, they were baffled with a suppression device, whether it be a packing of some sort that cancel noise. But over the years, they've learned to develop where sound waves cancel themselves. And even moving a step further, I've had guns that actually had less recoil with the brake and the suppressor combo than the gun without the suppressor on it. So Nosler could take you into the next realm of that, but we have evolved way further than having
PVC and cotton balls.
Yeah, that's right. Galls, you have to stake out and repack and those or pumping it with grease. So many things that used to be part of that world. Now technology is there. It's here. It's lightweight, and it uses its own sound suppression baffles without packing to suppress the noise.
So is it releasing gas? I'd
say it's redirecting it.
Redirecting it, yeah. Cool.
Dudley, you've got a couple, don't you?
No, he's got
Yeah, I've got one for rimfire, and I've got two for center fire, that I shoot deer with. And they're, I have hearing damage from driving tractors when I was a kid and not wearing hearing protection. And I'm only 46 years old, but when I'm in the turkey woods listening for a gobbler, it sounds like there's 10 cicadas in my head going off. And I have to figure out, I can move my jaw around and turn my head to the side and finally hear what I think I need to hear. But I wish I had protected my ears. Now people are more cognizant of that.
Yeah, we weren't.
I will not shoot a firearm without a suppressor or without hearing protection of some sort. And the only thing I haven't done is get my shotgun suppressed or get some kind of fancy device to put in my ear for when I'm turkey hunting. That's the only time. But duck hunting, dove hunting, squirrel, deer, whatever.
You're either using suppression or wearing hearing protection.
Yeah, unless I'm in a life situation where I have to fire a pistol off in my house or something. But
I was just going to say there's really a couple of different elements of sound when you fire a rifle. One of them is the actual muzzle blast, which is the powder combusting and the big boom that we hear. And the suppressor addresses a lot of that noise. It knocks that down big time. But then there's also the crack of the bullet going through the air, because it creates a sonic boom unless you're shooting subsonic ammunition. So a sonic boom is related to the size of the object that's making that sonic boom. So a bullet doesn't make the sonic boom of like an F-15, but it still makes one. So even if you suppress that muzzle blast down on a 30-06, you're still going to hear a crack that's maybe as loud as a 22. But it's not going to be the tremendous boom followed by the crack that you often hear in the wide open spaces where you hear that bullet just carrying down range, right? So I think that's a lot of what the benefit is. And to Tim's point, it taking that boom away repeatedly definitely is going to help your hearing. But if you shot all day long with a suppressor and didn't have hearing protection, yeah, you still might have some issues because it'd be just like shooting a 22 all day, right? But, there are ways to mitigate that. Like you guys mentioned having them on 22s. If you shoot subsonic ammunition, you get almost no sound because there's no accompanying sonic boom.
Yeah. How does that subsonic ammunition perform in a hunting scenario?
Well, we manufacture some subsonic ammunition that's designed for hunting, particularly in the 300 blackout. And it works really well because it was engineered from the beginning to perform at those speeds. A lot of times, though, what you see with 300 blackout ammunition is other companies will place just a standard bullet in the load. And most of the time, bullets are designed to function in a velocity window. And if they're being driven at a velocity that's 1,000 feet per second below their optimum, they probably won't do very much.
So they're not going to expand properly.
No, I mean, it's basically going to be like shooting something with a 30 caliber BB.
Right.
Interesting.
So that's where it can get a little bit confusing is, the difference between shooting subs or subsonic ammo and shooting supersonic ammo. So, like this 300 blackout round, you can actually purchase ammo or reload that shoots up roughly above 1,100 feet per second, but at its maximum, that's going to be somewhere in the 2,000s. Right. Or you get the subsonic that's going to travel slower than 10,050 feet per second or 1,100 feet per second, and it's not going to have that crack, but it's traveling so slow, you want it to be able to expand more.
Mm-hmm. And it would lessen your range dramatically, I would think.
Right. So, you just have to shoot within those lethal parameters, or whatever the technological term is for that.
So I talked to several hunters prior to this about that they use a suppressor on one guy had a 308, a couple of guys had 223s, and they all shot they did not shoot subsonic ammunition. They shot the supersonic ammunition.
Sure.
I guess standard ammunition.
So it performs just as well as a regular.
Ballistically, it won't change with a suppressor.
I guess so, Pat. There is no change, is there? Yeah, Mike's saying no.
No, I mean, basically the bullet performance will be the same. You're going to get, and that is, but the nice thing again about the suppressors, you're going to negate that muzzle blast, right? So you're still not going to be dealing with the big boom that you hear all over the place. You're just going to deal with basically a 22 with a little bit of accompanying noise. So.
Right. So
interesting.
When I'm shooting my 30-06 at a deer, or at a target, it kicks about, I don't know, I would say somewhere between a 223 and a 243.
With it while it's suppressed.
Yes. So you get the benefits. But if it's not,
it kicks like a 30-06.
So with the suppressor, you get the benefits of a muzzle brake, which will make you go deaf in no time.
That's why I can't hear today, because of
But it's also much quieter. Like when I'm shooting at the range with a suppressor, I'm still going to wear hearing protection. But when I'm in a deer stand, I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit louder when you're shooting supers, but it's not enough to make your ears ring,
So, Mike, what is your experience with these things and the customers that come into Gary's? What are primarily what are guys doing?
The first one I bought would have been probably in '97, and I got it for 9mm just to have. But since that time, I've shot way more rimfire through it, just because it's a lot more fun shooting 22 and less expensive. But that was before we ever started carrying them at the store. It was probably I would say 2012, 13 or so, probably 10 years that we've been carrying suppressors since this last movement. But the technology change and things is really noticeable, and the market and what they're shifting towards, like he says, they are reducing felt recoil in a lot of situations. But the hunting world has exploded. Seems like before it was just kind of a small niche market, but now with the easiness to get them, other than the wait time, like you said, it's a big market. It really is.
Yeah. So I talked to Rafe from Browning, and he told me that a lot of their long range rifles would accept a suppressor, and now they've made some shorter barrels, 18 to 22 inches. He said that's a red hot thing right now. The guys it's a shorter rifle because that can kind of extends it a little bit. But so Pat, I have a question about does the suppressor sized for? So if I've got a 25-06, do I have to get a specially sized suppressor?
That one, because there's a lot of geometry around that. And Tim, why don't you explain to them what the differences are and why you choose what?
So typically for most typically suppressors are going to come in a 22 caliber and a 30 caliber. They can handle calibers less than that in those given formats, but if you're going to shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor, typically you're going to shoot a 30 caliber suppressor on that, and you'll lose a little bit of efficiency, but not a whole lot shooting that smaller caliber through a bigger hole. But then there's the volume of the suppressor. So you have a rimfire can, which is smaller volume, but still 22 caliber, as opposed to a centerfire 22 caliber suppressor, which is a little bit bigger volume. So the job of the suppressor is to convert heat or sound energy into heat energy. And so the more area you have in order to do that conversion, the better. So a larger suppressor is going to be more efficient than a smaller suppressor. Of course, you're gaining weight and size, but that's where you need to make the compromise. So for a hunting suppressor, if you want small and light, you're going to get a little bit louder report from the rifle on it. But it's obviously you don't want to get too long, like you were talking about the barrel length. You don't want to add too much to that barrel length and make the firearm ungainly.
So is there an advantage to having one of these, like with Hayden?
That's exactly why I'm considering it, because I can't hear. My dad can't hear. It's definitely, I'm like Dudley. I'm hitting mid 40s, late 40s, and it's definitely an impact. And I want my kids not to have that problem, but they love to shoot. So that's 100% what I'm going at.
And another thing I'd like to add is, when you're at the range with your kids or anybody else, when you have hearing protection on, it's harder to communicate. And when you're, for example, with a kid and you're trying to preach safety, if they've got headphones on and can't hear what you're saying,
it's tough.
It's tough.
I've got my youngest when he was young, he didn't even like to flush the toilet. It was too loud for him. So I'm serious. He holds his ear, he puts his fingers in his ears when he's getting on the school bus. So I know it's going to be a factor for him.
Right. And kids are sensitive to report.
Yep.
They're sensitive to the kick. Even if the kick doesn't hurt, they think it's going to hurt, and they flinch. And so if you can train them with a suppressed weapon, you're going to take the kick factor out, the sound factor out. They're going to be more comfortable when they're shooting, so they're going to be more precise. It makes too much sense.
Yeah, it does, especially for the youth.
Well,
if only for hearing protection, again, because I know I can't hear. I know you can't hear. You can probably hear better than anybody. You're one of the only people I know that hunts with earplugs.
I have for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
In the duck blind, you have to holler at Bobby. There they go! Where?
Hit him in the back of the head. Point his head. There they are.
Point at them. Okay.
So, hey, Tim, so what has led to these things being so popular in Europe?
Well, definitely lack of restrictions over there. You can buy a suppressor over the counter. And in most hunting situations where they're somewhat rural, they really think it's rude to hunt without a suppressor on just because of the noise pollution.
Oh wow!
So
if you've ever been woken up by a high-powered rifle, it's pretty serious.
I shot one next to a church one time. They were in there singing.
He was in there hunting.
And a buck that I wanted to shoot came by, and I didn't have any choice.
I had to go.
It got quiet for just a few seconds, and then they started back singing.
So that's probably not as common shooting around a church out here.
We have
we're pretty eclectic.
It is interesting to me that a lot of, in Europe, they have more restrictive gun laws.
But less restrictive.
But less restriction on, suppressors.
Which is
but for some reason around here they developed this tabooness, maybe from the movies.
Yeah, I would think from the
bad guys were using them, and the movies make it sound like it makes zero noise, so you can get away with killing somebody more easily.
Yeah, that's the one I want, Pat.
That's not really the case, and so talk to your congressman about that.
I had heard, I don't know if it's all valid, that originally, like after the Depression or during it, when people were shooting wildlife random whenever they wanted to, and the game wardens couldn't keep up with it, and the law enforcement, that they established this tariff to keep people from owning them because they were sniping so bad after hours and killing game. Now, I don't know if it's 100% truth, but I've heard it from good sources in Mississippi that was part of the case. And when they applied that $200 back then, that was like 2,000 today's dollar. So
Right.
it's really changed. That's like he was talking about. 200 is not that big of a deal now.
No.
Where back in the
then
day, it was like
was.
unheard of for somebody to pay $200 just to have a suppressor.
That's the most logical explanation I've heard of why they would have been.
So
Our suppressors would have been suppressed.
So if I buy a suppressor, then it's in my name, or maybe I create some kind of trust, and then maybe my daughter could use it.
That's correct.
As well. But it's not something that I could just decide one day I wanted to sell and sell to somebody.
That is correct.
So I couldn't just borrow Bobby's.
If you were on his trust, you could.
I'm sure I'm on your trust.
No, you would not be on that. He's not in my trust or on my trust.
Did I make the will? Have I made the will yet?
Look up the word trust. You're not.
I
in
just
it.
need a couple acres on the Ponderosa. That's it.
I understand. I think most folks use the trust now.
A lot
and,
do.
and I set one up with the trust. My family, my parents are on there as well.
Me?
So, and
Golly, I'm out.
but like in case I die, then they can take that over.
That's right.
And the other option is to get a signature, right?
What's that?
And how does that work? I think the sheriff signs off. You do some other stuff, but it's only in your name.
Right, that's right. You can do an individual buy, and all suppressors have to be approved by the chief law enforcement officer of that county or jurisdiction you're in. But with no trust, an individual purchase, we'll call it. You're right. It's a no transfer at that point. If it was time of death, or if you want to let somebody borrow it, you're not going to be able to unless you're accompanying them.
So that's the logic behind building the trust.
What would happen to it? Say I'd passed away and I had one. Does they come get it?
Nobody comes to get it. It's not. They don't have enough manpower to resource that or find that. But if you were somebody in your family was the unforeseen person to get caught with it and they wanted to make a big scene, it could be trouble. Dealers will take them back in and then do the whole paperwork thing and continue reestablishing it back to a family member that passes all the guidelines. But if you had the trust originally, none of that would have had to take place. So.
Does it have to be if you've got an existing trust? Can you just add it onto that, or do you have to create a trust specifically for it?
You can.
You can. Gotcha.
I think they call it a real property trust or something like that.
There's different ways of having trust drawn, but
Pat, this sounds kind of complicated. Does this make being in the suppressor business a little more difficult?
Oh, I think it definitely does. I mean, if it was, to Tim's point, if we were in Europe and we could just sell them over the counter at your local sporting goods store, it'd be simple. But it's, it's a little more to go through. I think that the people that want them, however, that understand the benefits are happy to wait the time that it takes. And I think it has gotten a little bit better with some of the electronic forms and systems that they put in place to try to do that. But, it's, on the hunting side, to me, I don't understand why it's so difficult. I mean, I think you guys nailed it. I think the perception is that they're something that's used in crime when in reality they're not. And it's just, it's a product that really should be more available because, like you guys are all alluding to, and I'm in the same boat, half of us can't hear by the time we're 45 or 50 very well because we have spent so much time in the field and around guns in our lives. And like you guys are saying, if our kids are able to benefit from these, it'll be a little different situation in 25 years, and we won't have a generation of 75-year-old deaf people, or 75-year-old deaf hunters at least.
That's right.
It is interesting how that works. People just didn't think about it. You know?
I couldn't get in the Army in 1986. I was 17 from hearing loss, high frequency hearing loss.
Wow.
And it was finally attributed to shooting 22s and other guns growing up.
This is no lie. Earplugs on the gun range for me and my dad. He would give me a 44 Magnum Hull and would stick it in my ear.
That's a good thing.
That's what I thought an earplug was.
A 9mm bullet would have been a little better than a 45 piece of brass. I promise you, they go in easier.
I ran an old Ford tractor that didn't have a muffler on it.
That's right.
Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Look, bulldozers are all bad for it.
Yep.
So
when I think about this, guys, just kind of trying to circle back around, we've kind of learned when we talk to other people that are managing properties, then one of the things they everybody's kind of evolved to is, well, let's not shoot our does in these fields or in these food plots, and kind of make the food plots more of a little protected area. But they're also telling me even if they have suppression, they're still not shooting the does in their field because there still is a little bit of noise.
Yeah.
But they all to a man said that it was worth the expense, it was worth the trouble. But they used them in the woods, and in numerous times it helped them be able to harvest more does.
I bet so.
Because they could get away with
Especially
more.
in states where you can harvest more than one doe in a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think
That's right.
can't you harvest all
Yeah,
your does
yeah.
in a day? You
Yeah.
know? And if you're hot on the trail and you're managing deer intensively, it's a chore, and it's a lot easier to kill. You know, if you get them all at one time, it makes it a lot easier.
It does.
From what
You
I
only
can
gotta skin 'em
tell,
one night,
Yeah,
right?
you just spend one night dressing.
if you're shooting unsuppressed, the deer seem to run off in an opposite direction of your firearm. Suppressed, it's almost like they don't know where that shot came from.
Did they run towards you?
So a lot of times they'll kind of look up or maybe even run towards you. It just
I'm in.
it
Sign me up,
depends.
Mike.
Well, I shoot these Nosler bullets, and they're usually laying right where I
Yeah.
shoot.
Um,
where Dudley's shooting.
But as far as Nosler goes, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys have 4 offerings, 2 in 30 caliber and 2 in 22 caliber. And one of them, 2 of those have lighter materials. And then the 22s can also shoot 223 and 556, which is a center fire. So it's not specifically for rimfire. So it's strong enough to be able to handle a center fire round. Am I correct?
Yeah, we actually have 2 different models essentially in a 22 and a 30 caliber. One is a all titanium, which is that's the tough one, and then there's an aluminum titanium, an Altai combo, which is the hunting version. The hunting version is actually lighter with the aluminum. They're both able to handle the same calibers, you know, and they both work essentially exactly the same as far as sound control. The only difference is the titanium can handle rapid fire, you know, magazine dumps and that type of thing, where the aluminum titanium, the Altai version, is really made for hunting and a slower rate of fire and not so much sustained fire. Both of them are great, but 9 ounces for the 30 caliber Altai and 13 ounces for the titanium version. So there's several ounces of difference between the two, but both of them work quite well.
Well, Lanny, I'll say this: every guy I talked to in preparation of this swore by having a semi-automatic or a bolt action 22 rifle to squirrel hunt with a suppressor. They said it'll change the way it change your life.
And you can shoot subsonics with 22. The supersonics are not that much faster. And so you can go squirrel hunting, and when you shoot, especially like a bolt action or single shot where there's no action moving, I mean, it's a when you shoot.
Do they still make 22 shorts?
They do, you know, but the misconception with the short was it's a higher velocity than the speed of sound.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So even if you just bought a short, it's not a high velocity long rifle 22, but they wanted them to be as fast as they could.
So it's still
but you can buy a
supersonic
short that
round.
is subsonic. But as far as the ones they originally developed, they were fast enough to create a sonic boom out of most rifles.
Pat, what are we not asking about these things that we need to ask and you need to explain to us? Anything?
No, I think this is good because you guys are covering a lot of the basics and you know, the application, and that's what's really important. I think a lot of people just don't even consider using one because it's just not top of mind for a lot of hunters, but I think it should be. And, you know, when we came out with these products this year, our focus was really, as a hunting company, we really wanted to focus on the hunting market. And it's a complementary product. I mean, we manufacture rifles, we make ammunition, obviously we make bullets and brass, and it just kind of fits in and gives a guy a system that improves their efficiency in the field. And I think that's what it all comes down to. I guess the only other thing I would touch on is you guys didn't talk about predator control.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know down
Good.
there,
Yeah.
we don't have the problem out here that you guys do with hogs, but we have coyotes and cats and predators like that. But I think when you're hunting hogs down there in particular, what I've seen is that guys are able to often take more than one. If what are they called, a sounder when they
Yeah.
go by, when there's
Yeah.
a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So they can, they might be able to go whack, whack and kill 2 or maybe even 3, or have them kind of hang out in the area and get more than that. And I know that's really important because, I've seen the damage they do down there. And, if you can help control that and jump on them sooner, that might be something that's, really a big help.
No doubt. I was squirrel hunting last winter with my 22 and came across a sounder, and I was able to take out 4 before they figured me out.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you, Dudley.
I felt pretty cool. I don't know if I could reproduce that.
Did you put them in your backpack and tote them out?
I got a couple hind quarters
Just
and a
pack 'em
couple
out.
back straps and packed them out.
Acquiring protein.
That's awesome.
Wow. So, Pat, while you're here, what about, we can't have you on and not ask you about bullets. I experienced the AccuBond about the 5th of September. What a fantastic bullet. It went all the way through the elk, and it was right there in the hide, just
On the
underneath
opposite
it,
shoulder?
On the opposite
Just
shoulder.
what you want 'em to
yeah,
do?
It was just incredible. Pat, I've always shot that Partition. I love it, but I was very impressed with the AccuBond.
They're good bullets, both of them. I mean, the AccuBond is a little more streamlined, maybe. I think the Partition obviously is it's the gold standard. It's
No
what we
doubt.
compare everything to, and they just work. And but the AccuBond has really gained a following. I mean, it is really a popular bullet now, and I love to hear that. I love the pictures you sent, Bobby. They were cool, and that was obviously a really nice animal, and looks like you made a really good shot. I mean, it's hunting season right now. We're busy. Obviously, we're trying to make as many as we can. I wish we could make 50 times more because I think our customers would appreciate it. But we're doing everything we can here in Bend, Oregon, to get them out into the hunting fields before the season. So
I tell you,
it's been a busy fall for sure.
I'm just a big fan of Nosler.
Oh, yeah, we all are.
You guys, you ought to go follow him on social media. Pat, a couple of nights ago, I saw this story y'all posted where a young man killed a bighorn sheep, and you guys helped with that, provided ammunition. It looked like maybe the state of Oregon, perhaps game wardens were a big help to this young. Could you kind of tell that scenario, what was going on there? It looked like a real special story. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I did. I just saw a mention of it the other day. I mean, it's it's Nosler does. That's kind of the unsung thing. We do a lot of that outreach, and whether it be bighorns, whether it be honored American veterans of field that we support, we do everything we can. I mean, there's always more, but we try to help as much as we can because whether it be veterans, whether it be people that have disabilities, we're just trying to make sure that people can enjoy their time in the field. I mean, that's what it's about for all of us, right? That's what brings us here. That's why we're all on this podcast today.
That's right.
It's our way of life. It's something we all love. And so if we can help more people experience that, whether it be a bighorn sheep in Oregon or, a elk in Colorado or whatever, if we can create an experience for somebody that makes them, that's memorable and improves their enjoyment of the field. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, well, I would encourage everybody to go to Instagram and look at that picture because that young man and the rifle he had and the shot he must have made because he wasn't at the top of the mountain. It looked like he must have shot from the – I don't know. It just looked like an incredible story, but I know Nosler was at the heart of that, and that's really cool.
Yeah, back on the suppressor thing, I was going to ask. I've got my old trusty deer rifle. And just what process do I have to go to get that, fitted for a suppressor? Don't I have to thread the barrel or something like that?
If you're going to use that gun, yes,
Yeah.
it will have to be threaded.
So how does that process work? I just bring my gun to a aficionado like yourself?
No, I don't thread guns.
Yeah.
And it's a process. A lot of times depends on the diameter of the barrel, how much barrel length you want. We actually ran through that, 2 years ago, going through the process of trying to figure those things out. I've got a nice Steyr with a 16-inch barrel.
Yeah.
Because of that, so, and that's a good thing. But, as you go through those things, some guns were not originally developed with enough barrel material to do that. So you end up either having to thread it and adapt it, or cut it back so far to get enough thread that it's shorter than you want it. So a lot of times it's almost as good just to go ahead and buy a gun that's already equipped and adapted. Like he said, they're building these guns with shorter barrels, stiffer barrels, or larger diameter end on the muzzle to adapt to a suppressor. It's a big thing.
Well, look, I'm always looking for a reason to buy another rifle.
Absolutely.
So,
That's the best
why
excuse
not?
I know of.
Yeah, and so generally 22 caliber and below, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it's 1/2 by 24, and then
Half by 28.
1/2 by 28, and then above that you get it threaded 5/8 by 24.
That's the two most common sizes.
Thank you, Mr. Noah.
And then you can get adapters and such.
That's true.
As well.
Got the techno
He's
guru up
got
in
a
here.
lot of stuff in his head that he probably,
When he studies on something, he
does.
studies on something.
Yeah,
But nowadays, you can get stuff with threaded barrels. Even if it comes with a muzzle brake, the thread is typically compatible with suppressors.
So probably the best route is go ahead and get that new rifle too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know you need one.
But look, I'll take one.
Get Nosler to go ahead and ship you one out today.
Yeah, hey,
Tell 'em
man,
what
sign
caliber
me
you
up.
want.
Give me one on the way, boys. I'll take a can too there, Mike.
That's right.
Yeah, Nosler's got some cool rifles
Yeah.
They
themselves.
really do.
Yeah.
They really do.
Well, gosh, what else do we, Lanny? What have you learned?
It's ironic to think that I never thought about the sound barrier. A lot of this stuff has never been in my realm of thinking. So, but to y'all's point, I know, what we're trying to do here as gamekeepers is make things better. I think this is a great alternative for hunting, not only for your own hearing protection, but how to raise your kids up. It just seems a better way to do things. And if it, gives you a chance to shoot more does, I'm in every time.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, Pat, is the future, or could we be looking at suppressors for shotguns?
Yeah, they exist. I think it's, Tim kind of mentioned it. They get a little bit long and unwieldy in some of the applications, but there's certainly people use them already. So, I think there's the handguns, there's the rim fires. There's probably going to be, I bet suppressors are going to get a lot more popular in the next 5 or 10 years. I really do.
Yeah.
And if we start seeing where it becomes an easier process for a hardworking American to get one, they'll probably become more integrally made, I would assume.
Come with it.
The barrel is...
I don't see that ever. I don't see our government making it easier. I don't think they're going to make it any harder, hopefully.
Right.
But I don't see them saying, let's just make this easy for everybody to get one.
I know there was a bill or something a few years ago that came up. And
Hearing Act.
Yeah.
It was as close as it was going to get then. I think you guys at Nosler might could say more about that, but I think it was as close as we would ever have seen it to pass it then.
But it really isn't difficult.
Yeah,
you can go into a gun store now. A lot of them have like a kiosk where you can put your information in. It even does the trust for you in some
That's what
instances.
I was going to ask. I mean, what is the process?
And they just say it goes to jail, and then once it's been approved and you get your stamp for paying that tax, it can come out of jail. So you buy it, and it sits in a vault at the gun store
somewhere
until it gets approved, and you pay for it all up front. And then when it's ready, mine was like a 10 to 12 month wait on all three of them.
Originally they were.
Now it's gotten a little more efficient, and y'all were saying it's about 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, I'd say 6 to 7-ish lately. It has gone up and down.
Yeah, it's kind of like liming your food plots. Just get it done, and then it's going to come in, and you'll be glad you did.
They are serial numbered, just where you'll know. I mean, it's a similar process to buy. It is a firearm, quote unquote, according to the ATF.
So I could walk in, you could help me pay my $200, fill out my deal, and
pick out the suppressor first,
and
secure it, and then send the paperwork for your check to the ATF in a form of $200, whether it's a card or check. And that application process would be determined by how long it takes them to approve you and send it back.
And until then, it sits over there across the
Sits
street.
over there in a vault inside of a vault.
Nice.
Yeah, it's in a nice, safe place for you.
I love it.
And you can even go and say, "Hey, can I
Yeah.
go and hold my
Can I look at my
suppressor and
suppressor?
look
I've
at
had
it?"
2 people do that, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
he,
sure
did it
he
he
is.
did it 3 times.
I want to see it.
Oh my goodness.
Is it really there?
Yeah. Did y'all sell my suppressor? Nope, it's still back there.
So I've got one more question for Pat and for Tim. If you guys were going to hunt and manage white-tailed deer, is there a caliber that you guys would choose?
Oh gosh.
Oh man, the most debatable subject on the internet. Well,
Honestly, I wouldn't limit the caliber that you use because of the suppressor, unless it's just such a big caliber that you can't find a suppressor for it. But, if you use a 30-06, a 270, 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, they all are very, they accommodate suppressors very well, and I wouldn't hesitate to use any of them. If you do want to go to subsonic ammunition, then it gets a little bit more specialized, but you're really moving from comfortable shooting to kind of that Hollywood quiet, which is, beyond where you really need to go. And I think you guys are missing the most important part of suppressors, and that is the huge smile that new shooters get when they first shoot a suppressed rifle. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That really makes it worth owning a suppressor in itself. But no, I wouldn't. I would just shoot whatever caliber you want, and the suppressor is going to help them all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Bobby, for me, it comes down to just any red-blooded American shoots a 25-06.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all there is to it, isn't there?
bottom line, huh?
Yeah, that's right, Pat. That's right, Pat. We go way back.
That's right. That's why they had to make a partition for it to work, probably, right?
Yeah, 117 grams. So,
Nosler designed a bullet because of 25-06 wouldn't
that
work
hurt.
otherwise. Is that right?
well, so
Shots fired.
from time to time, I've had to. Did I just get zinged and didn't realize I got
Probably.
Well,
Oh, no.
anyway, I love my 25 also.
I can't say anything about him.
He
I'm
does
just
love
picking.
his 25 off.
Yep.
So, Dudley, what have you learned today?
I knew a lot of this stuff, but I enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah.
I learned that more people need to be using them in the woods.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
I think they've got a place in the Gamekeepers
I do,
toolbox.
100%. Even if it's just purely for saving your hearing. I mean, because it's a
That's
big
very
thing.
important.
It's
Can't
very
get it
important.
back.
You can't
Cannot
get it back. I've been trying. My wife wished I had it back.
Yep.
Huh?
That's a different story there, but anyway, for another day.
Yeah. Well, hey, Pat and Tim, while we got you, before we let y'all go, we always do a trivia question, and if you get this right, one of our listeners will win a prize. And so not to put any pressure on you, but y'all can team up and come up with an answer here. But and then we'll have something later for you, Mike. But
What are we giving away?
so, Richie, what
new
are we
car.
giving away?
Richard, what
All
are we
right,
giving away?
right out of Toxic's closet once again. He left it unlocked, so Bobby snuck in there.
There we go.
I didn't. Playing for Bill Valentine, who left a review, but I don't know what the review says.
Yeah, but what's the prize?
I'll get there.
Okay. I can tell you,
He's
Richie,
in charge,
he makes
I
me
think.
crazy.
All right, so it's a Stanley thermos once again.
Boom, once again. Look, those things are awesome.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of them back
A
there.
Mossy Oak camo
Yeah, there you
Stanley
go.
thermos.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It's the real deal.
I saw a big display of them in Bass Pro this weekend. So
All right, Pat, y'all got a 50-50 chance on this one.
All right, this is a true-false question, and as Bobby just said, 50-50 chance. If a female fox dies, her mate will stay single forever. However, a widowed female fox will look for a new mate immediately. True or false?
wow. You dug to find this one. So I need to regurgitate that one.
Tell him, repeat the question.
Yeah, repeat the question again. I need to
Yeah.
soak that one
He
in
does
myself.
read it fast.
What is
doesn't he?
widowed?
Well, if a female fox dies, her mate will stay single forever.
The male.
The male will stay
The
single
male will
forever.
stay single forever.
That's pretty good. However, a widowed female fox will look for a new mate immediately. True or false?
So if the male dies,
She's moving on.
she's moving on.
I'm
Is-
going to say, well,
is
it's
that
not
true
my
or
question to
false?
answer. At least it's 50-50.
Tim, what do you think, Tim?
Well,
Old
I'd have to
friend.
guess, but it sounds accurate.
I think it's true.
Yes, it is.
All right. How's it going, Bob?
Well, what is up with
Like
these
it.
female foxes?
I'm telling you.
I
The
don't know.
loyal male fox.
I'll tell you, you try to be a loyal male, and look what happens.
Hey there, where'd you find that?
Did
Did you find that on the internet?
I did. I did. So, hey, Pat, we sure appreciate you guys being here, and we appreciate Nosler. You guys
Yes.
make some great products, and it sounds like these suppressors y'all are making, it sounds like that's going to be a really good product for you guys.
Well, thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so Nosler.com is where people can go, and you can follow them. You can go to the internet there, Lanny.
I think that thing's around to stay.
Yeah,
I
and
just
then
wanna tell you.
Instagram, they've got that at Nosler. So it's a great brand. It
is a
really
great
is.
brand.
Thank y'all so much for being here with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
You bet.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I'd like to try one out.
Mike, so you're there around people all the time. I mean, it seems to me that more and more people are talking about these suppressors and trying to learn more about them. And I think it's going to be a thing that it's going to become more and more popular, don't you?
It definitely is. The volume of sales has increased every year. And we put off buying a kiosk because of the expense for a little while, but it does create less chance of error from the beginning, so it's worth the price that it costs to get it done because we can do everything in-house.
Does
we
one
don't have to go
stamp?
to the sheriff's department to go to the CVS and get a photo. I mean, it's all done in-house.
Does the $200 stamp, does it cover multiple suppressors? Covers one.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
One
your-
stamp per.
Yeah, it's one stamp per
Yeah.
suppressor.
And I honestly don't know the legalities, but I have a screenshot of my stamp and my paperwork for each suppressor in my phone. And then I also have a miniature, like I had the paperwork shrunken.
That's right.
In your
So I
wallet or
can
something?
keep it in my gun case,
Huh.
just in case.
Yep.
Sure.
I think they can, I don't think you have to have that. They can look it up.
Right.
But it'd be good just to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it sounds like this is going to cost me some money. I like it. At least I'm spending it at Gary's.
I mean, it's less than a nice scope,
Yeah. No.
pretty much.
I'm on.
Yeah. What does a suppressor cost? We didn't even get
And,
there.
and it's
I didn't think about that.
multi-usable as well. I mean, it depends on the technology and the material, as they just said. Is it a bolt-action hunting rifle that you can't shoot but so many rounds before you're tired of shooting, or you broke your wallet? Or are you shooting it on a full or semi-auto style, weapon that shoots 30, 40 rounds before it stops? So higher technology, better material costs more, but for less than $1,000, there's no way, you can stay under $1,000 and get a good suppressor for a hunting rifle and pay the trust. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, even, some of these 20, rimfire only suppressors that you can take apart and clean. I think with the stamp and everything, they, may only be $500 or $600
That's right.
bucks.
Yeah.
So
But the other cool thing about the suppressor, it is a serial numbered item, but you can use it on any of your weapons. So
Gotcha.
you're not having to buy a new one for every other gun. And some
Just
people have
screw it
multiple
on.
because they don't want to take it on and off. They make quick attach muzzle brakes that you can take it on and off a lot quicker. You're not direct threading it on and off every time. But it's kind of like the shooting houses and a lot of things that's marketed. You see more repeat customers than you do first time.
Sure.
Sometimes it's kind of neat.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you never thought you would own 3, did you?
no, but
That's
once
what
I
I'm
had
saying.
one,
Yeah.
I knew I had to have one
Right.
for me and another family member that may be hunting.
That's right.
And then I had to have a rimfire one.
That's it.
And I think it'd be fun to have like a 45 caliber one for shooting your pistols.
And they do make a few that are large enough openings and design that a hybrid that you could shoot on your 45 pistol, your 30-06 rifle, and a 22 to it. But it'd be a little bigger than you would want to shoot a regular rimfire to, but it's still usable. And it loses a little bit of efficiency, but not that much. Because you're talking about the difference between a 308 and a 6.5, just a few thousandths in the opening diameter, so it's not that big a deal.
Wow.
And they'll pretty much bolt on to any of the AR platforms, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just screw right on.
Yep.
You seeing much of that? I mean, that's what I would think would be the ultimate deer rifle.
I do. A lot of people overlook it for first-time shooters.
Yeah.
Because the length of pull is adjustable, and they've got a grip for
And
a
they got a
child.
grip.
It's got a little better trigger pull. A lot of times when they come in wanting that first rifle for somebody that's already passed the tiny gun stage, I put them in an AR.
Yeah.
And those 300s, those, a little bit larger caliber than 5.56. Not that 223 won't work, but you do have a little bit more area now than you used to as far as bigger caliber.
Wow.
Well, let's go to Gary's.
Yeah, so guys, if y'all listening,
Gotta go unlock it today.
if you get around West
right.
Point,
We closed today.
or they're closed on Wednesdays, but if you get around West Point or Columbus, you got to go to Gary's.
Got to go see them. Go see Mike or Gina. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, look, Dudley, have you got to ask Dudley?
I do.
I mean, I thought he already busted it down with all
From
that
probably
knowledge on
3 weeks
suppression.
ago because you keep knocking them back. So, I was going to bring 3, but I only brought 1. And
Thank you.
it's a really this is a neat subject. I get a phone call about this. I think about once a week. So sometime in the 90s, this was a popular thing, and it's kind of like one of those pyramid deals. I think it was almost like a scam. And there's been several species of trees.
Love a good pyramid.
But so anyway, I got this question a lot. This person says, I'm interested in growing a 3-acre black walnut orchard in our creek bottom
Yeah, I remember.
with a goal of making veneer quality trees for my kids. We're in the boonies outside of Jackson, Tennessee. Do you know anything about spacing, thinning, pruning, cover crops, etc. you can share and where to get the trees? Well, there was a publication a while back, and several folks selling the supposedly genetically superior walnuts, and it was like they were advertising that you could grow them like loblolly pine, where you would plant them close together. You go in and prune them as they're growing. Here's the perfect soil. A lot of the soil recommendations were right, but a buyer of veneer quality walnut wants a slow-grown tree.
Yes.
That was grown in a natural environment where it competed with other species like oaks, hickories, ashes, and they grow really slow with tight growth rings.
Not like a loblolly. They're trying to
Not
get it
like a
grow fast.
loblolly. And so what they were saying is you plant these genetically superior trees that you have to buy from us, and then you prune them every few years, and that helps them grow faster and whatnot, and then you can get a veneer quality tree in as little as like 30 or 40 years. Well, you may be able to get a walnut that was grown fast, but it's not going to be the quality
Not
that
have
the
the lines
buyers
in
are
it,
going to
yeah.
want.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell folks. If you're willing to wait, 60 to 80 years, you find a good walnut site, which is like a cove, a deep soil with good drainage. It has to have close to a neutral pH, preferably like a north-facing bottom of a slope or a really well-drained bottom. And you can do that, but you have to mix them in with other species and just be willing to wait a long time. And they're not all going to end up being veneer quality. A standard black walnut that's not veneer quality is going to sell for about the same as red oak or something.
Gotcha.
And
But it
so-
grows slower, doesn't it?
It grows a little more slowly. And so my answer to that is if you got a perfect site and you're willing to wait,
some on 'em.
great.
Yeah.
If not, let's manage for other species.
I still need diversity no matter what.
There's
Very
another
interesting.
Paulonia tomentosa, which is also a non-native invasive empress
Mr. Know-It-All.
empress tree.
Yeah.
It's also kind of sold like that, where
For veneer
they
quality.
say that there's a market for it and it grows really fast, but in essence, the overseas folks that buy it, they want a really tight grain as well.
Well,
And
it's-
so
yeah.
the person making the money is the person advertising the seedling.
How do you talk a 10-year-old into buying that? I mean, we're talking about 60-year growth. Like when he's 10 years old, you need to buy these and plant them. Because
My
who
kid's
else
looking
is
for
gonna
gas
do it,
money
right?
for his four-wheeler. No walnuts.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway,
Well, that was
That's a
good.
good one.
Yeah, that really was.
That actually comes up pretty often.
So I wanted to circle back around to blood on the biologic. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of this Luke Arbuckle, little young man, 14 years old, killed a really nice 8-point with a crossbow.
Nice.
That was a really cool
Where
deer.
was that?
I think it was. I'm not really sure, but I think it was Arkansas. But I'm not 100% sure about that. His father sent that in to us, and There was
Oh, that's the guy that planted the food plots and everything else. Huh?
yeah. It's been a couple of weeks. I keep missing, and then there was another young man named Easton Hunter. That this is his first
quite a hunting name.
season.
Yeah,
He shot some doves on a dove shoot, and he looked like he was really proud. So we're glad to see these young men getting started in the hunting.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that will evolve into some gamekeeping.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, it's funny. On that subject. That's what my kids are asking for. Oh hell, Richie, is it that bad? But my kids are now asking, I guess, because just over the years, hey, when are we going to bush hog? When are we going to plant? When are we going to get ready? Now, it's kind of interesting to see that. So,
Yeah, getting ready is half the fun.
yeah, no, it is all the fun for me.
Dudley, have you got some rapid fire questions for Mike since we got
Oh
him here?
yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
I forgot about this.
So, Mike, this is a segment we
These
call.
parts you didn't tell me about.
Yeah, this is it.
What?
Yeah. We rapid fire some questions. It's brought to you by our friends at Springfield Armory.
All right.
They
Yeah.
make some
Remember that,
fantastic
guys.
pistols.
Springfield.
Springfield Armory,
Yeah.
home of Rob Latham, right?
Yeah,
Oh, there's y'all's question for the day. Who is Rob Latham, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So he'll give
rapid
you-
fire. I need a quick answer, and it'll be fun.
It's gonna be like
Yes,
mayonnaise
no,
or
just
mustard.
an
you pick.
answer.
Yeah.
Out of the
You
two.
can
Or
say neither if
Right.
you want, but quick answer. All right, ready. Cheese grits or regular grits?
Regular grit,
Original or crispy?
crispy,
Mild or spicy?
spicy,
Crappie or brim?
crappie,
Scrambled or fried?
scramble,
White truck or colored truck?
white,
Cat squirrel or gray squirrel?
gray squirrel,
Dove hunt or dove shoot?
dove shoot,
Gobbler or Tom?
gobbler,
Springfield or Glock?
Springfield,
Good answer. George Jones or Johnny Cash?
George Jones,
And last question, just for men or regular shampoo?
regular.
Regular. Okay. I was just,
He gets,
Oh, good job.
he gets in there. He leans into
He's
it, as
ready.
you can see.
I was waiting for the third choice on some of them.
Yeah, he left out my favorite, which is always Ginger or Mary Ann.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
all right,
There you
I'll
go.
remember that for next one. Write it down.
All right,
Depends on
well-
whether you were watching the original or the rerun.
Oh,
What part of life
okay.
you were in, right?
Yeah, it does.
That's right.
So, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I think we've learned
Absolutely.
something. Dudley, we appreciate your knowledge of suppressors. You were a big help with this one. Anybody that's got 3 of them.
Knows what they're doing by now.
How many do you have, Mike?
I've just got one.
Yeah, I don't have one. Do you have one?
Well, the funny thing is, Dudley was so gung ho on this. I started the process when he started, but I didn't finish it. So
Yeah.
I, should
I
have.
did it before the kiosk, so I had to like pay an attorney.
Yeah, no, it was serious. Yeah.
Well, Mike, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
we,
it's
we
been a-
really,
it's been a
y'all are a
pleasure.
big help to us when we get guns in.
Look,
We
he's a big
appreciate
friend
that.
of MossyOak. He's
Yeah,
been a
we-
supporter of this place for years.
We
and years, so
like
appreciate
family,
you.
man.
Yes,
Really
right.
is.
No doubt about it.
Yep. I see Sam kind of slithered
yeah.
in over here. Was there a reason
Sleepy
Sam slithered in?
Yeah, we've been smelling this something in the back, so I think he's got.
Oh, we got- we got snacks? We got snacks?
Yeah, we got snacks. And look, if y'all have not tried these MossyOak Obsessed, all dressed Uncle Ray's chips, just run out there to your convenience store and pick them up because they're delicious.
They are good.
Aren't they?
I wish they would go away because I eat like a whole bag of them every day here. But they are fantastic.
They are fantastic. So I guess that we need to suppress the bag.
They're good. They really are. All right, Richie, have you got anything?
Wait, we're gonna eat some bison with Sam, aren't we?
Well, people need to listen to that or what?
Okay, you're right.
I want to hear you smacking.
Good point. Nah, we'll just have some bison after we're done.
There you go.
right,
So
that
he's
sounds good.
cooking for Gamekeepers Butchery and taking photos and all that. So we just get to eat it. From
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got a big
Good day to be here.
Malcolm Reed barbecue special package on there too. So it comes with Malcolm's seasonings and then all the selections he's made to pair that with for your holiday cooking coming
That's
up.
how
So,
to barbecue right.
How to barbecue right. Yeah, check it out.
Yep, GamekeeperButchery.com.
GamekeeperButchery.com. No, Gamekeeper Meats.
GamekeeperMeats.com.
Yeah.
That sounds like a dating service almost,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yep.
We might pimp you out,
Hey,
Bobby.
add that to the
We
list.
might pimp you out. You know,
GamekeeperMeats.com.
GamekeeperMeats.com.
And on Instagram, it's Gamekeeper Butchery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So
At Gamekeeper Butchery.
that sounds good. All right. Well, Mike, thank you.
Enjoyed
Richie,
it.
thank
Thanks, Mike.
you. Maybe we can get Mac next week. I don't know
Yeah.
where he is. Toxie was a little under the weather, but he's got a couple of suppressors. I was hoping he'd be here and he could add something to the
He's got a
conversation.
308 to suppress. That's a doe killing machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, say goodbye, Dudley.
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.